What's up, sports fans? The date today is July 14th, and you're watching another episode of 5 Things to Know with Richie. Today I'm going to be talking about a potential National League team that made quite a few moves in the offseason to bolster their offense, and I don't think is getting quite enough the recognition or attention that they should as we head into this new season. So that team is the Cincinnati Reds. Without further ado, let's get into our first reason I think the Reds are undervalued in this coming season, and that would be they have one of the best young pitchers in all of baseball, Luis Castillo. Threw 190 innings last year in his third season in the bigs, gave up 22 homers, 79 walks, and 226 strikeouts in those 190 innings. So I went to Baseball Savant to do a little bit more research on Luis Castillo, because I know he has a really good changeup, but I just wanted to quantify more so how good that changeup really is. So baseball, according to Baseball Savant, which if you haven't checked out their website, it's got tons of stats. So much it's almost overwhelming, honestly, even for a stat head like myself. So they tracked every single pitch Luis Castillo threw, and so according to Baseball Savant, he threw 998 changeups last year, which was about a third of his total pitches thrown. He threw it even more so than he threw his fastball. And for good reason. I mean, he only allowed 11 extra base hits on the 998 changeups he threw. He struck out 155 guys, and 48% of the time he threw the pitch, he got a swing and a miss out of it. So nearly half the time he threw it, the other team couldn't even hit it. So, I mean, that's one of the best pitches in all of baseball. And that's Luis Castillo's got to be a main reason why the Reds, if they end up having a good 2020 season, he will be one of the main reasons why. So that brings us to our second reason for the Reds' possible success in 2020, and that would be Sonny Gray. So he's another pitcher for the Reds. Last year he threw 175 innings. He gave up 17 home runs while walking 68 guys and striking out 205. Sonny Gray has a 4-pitch repertoire that he can use. He uses I guess he has a 6-pitch repertoire, but he uses mainly 4 pitches. His four-seamer, his slider, his curveball, and his sinker. He'll throw these pitches anywhere from 29% to 20% of the time, so he keeps hitters off balance that way. He throws his slider and his curveball effectively. Both have over a 30% whiff rate. The slider has over a 40% swing and miss rate on it, so that's a really good pitch. He throws the slider more to right-handed batters because it makes sense. It's breaking away from them when it comes to the plate, whereas if he throws it to a lefty, it'd be breaking right down the middle towards them. So, I mean, you can use it as a back foot slider occasionally, but a little more dangerous, a little more likely you hang it. So that's the reasoning there. So furthermore, on our second point here, they got 3 other good pitchers as well. They got Trevor Bauer, who they got from the Indians last year at the trade deadline, who pitched 213 innings for the Indians and the Reds. He gave up 34 homers last year and walked 82 guys while striking out over 200 batters. So they got 3 guys with over 200 strikeouts last season. And Trevor Bauer, last year was not the best season he had. The year before that, in 2018, he was much better. As last year, he didn't rely on his curveball as much as he did in 2018. And he gave up a lot more hard contact on his fastball, according to Baseball Savant. Overall, his barrel percentage went from 4.5% to 9%, so it doubled. So that's not a good sign for Trevor Bauer. But I think last year was more of a fluke. 2018, I don't think he's as good as he was in 2018, but I don't think he's as bad as he was last year. And if the Reds get a pitcher kind of in the middle there, they'll be in a really good spot. Especially when you consider they have 2 of the more underrated 4 or 5 pitchers in baseball, Anthony DeScafellini and Wade Miley. Both of these guys last year were top 50 in all of baseball in expected weighted on base average, which is a statistic that Baseball Savant really likes. And it's better than OPS, which I had always used OPS, because OPS is very linear. A walk's worth 1 point, a single's worth 2, a double's worth 3, a triple's worth 4, a home run's worth 5, so yada yada. Whereas with weighted on base average, it changes depending on. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. It's like I think a walk is 0.69 and a single is 0.86, which makes sense that a single would be more than a walk because when you walk, you move up one base, everyone else moves up one base. If you hit a single, it's possible the guy from second scores, or he might only move up to third. But anyways, there's a better opportunity for run production from a single as opposed to a walk. And even though both metrics tell you this, on base plus slugging just it isn't correctly weighted essentially, and that would be my best attempt to explain weighted on base average. But looking at their weighted on base average, there was 250 qualifying hitters in 2019 that had enough plate appearances to qualify for Baseball Savant's weighted on base opportunity leaderboard. So out of these 250 guys, only 10 players had an OPS, or not OPS. See, I'm so used to OPS, weighted on base average, or wOBA, below 275, which is bad. The league average is 331, which is about what Wade Miley's wOBA, expected wOBA, was last year. So they have 5 guys that are league average or better as far as wOBA is concerned. Castillo was 11th, Sonny Gray was 18th, Anthony Descaffolini was 36th, Wade Miley was 40th, and Trevor Bauer was 49th in that metric last year. So all 5 of their starters are in the top third of the league in weighted on-base average. So that's really good from the Reds. Another reason I'm excited about the Reds this coming season is Nicholas Castellanos is coming over from Chicago. He was on the Tigers and then was traded at the trade deadline last year. But he's a really underrated player. He's hit 72 extra base hits, 74 extra base hits, and then 88 extra base hits the last 3 years. He led all of baseball in doubles last year, and going from Comerica Park, which is a little bit bigger, to the Great American Small Park, as some people call it, which is where the Reds play, should be a really good boost for Castellanos, and some of those doubles should become home runs. People are even hyping up him as an underrated MVP candidate, and I think he seriously could push for MVP. They also signed Mike Moustakas, who they got from the Brewers, so that's a double whammy there. And then he's playing instead of Jose Peraza, who was the Reds, statistically, their worst hitter last year. So they get a triple whammy. They steal a guy from another team. He upgrades their worst position, and he's pretty good himself. One more note on Nick Castellanos is he's going to be 28 this season, which is a lot of times right in the prime of someone's career. So we could see him take even another step forward. So yeah, when you combine Nick Castellanos and Mike Moustakas, the signings of those two guys, you put him around Eugenio Suarez, who last year hit almost 50 home runs for the Reds. Joey Votto has been one of the best players in baseball as long as I can remember. Last year he had a down season, but I mean, even in 2018, he was 98th percentile in expected weighted on-base average according to Baseball Savant. So even just 2 years ago, he was one of the best players in all the game. He's been top 1 or 2% in expected weighted on-base average every season from 2015 to 2018. And he was top 1 or 2% in walk rate all of those seasons. So Joey Votto is elite. And if he can get a little bit more hard contact than he did last year, he could put himself back into being a force. What's up, kitty? So those are our 4 factors so far. You combine that with our 5th and final factor, which is the fact that it's a shortened season. We all know that. There's only 60 games this year. They usually play 162. That could favor the Reds, though, however, as a third of their games are going to end up being against the Royals, the Tigers, and the Pirates, who are 3 of the worst teams in baseball. And like I said, the Reds get a third of their games against those 3 teams. So that's potential to rack up some wins there. Also, there's going to be a universal DH this year, which really helps the Reds as it means they can play Aristides Aquino, who really, his nickname's the Punisher, and if you see what he did last year in August and September, there's a good reason for it. He cooled down a little bit at the end of the season, but he was absolutely roasting the baseball there for a little bit. So they can play him, they can play Nick Senzel, they can play Jesse Winker, and they can play Castellanos every day if they choose to, because one of those guys can slot in at DH. Castellanos isn't the world's greatest defender either, so that'll help that out. That's pretty much all I got here for the Cincinnati Reds. They're really primed, though, in my opinion, to have a very good season. One last thing I'd like to note, actually, is the fact that Vegas, when the 60-game season was announced, put the Reds' win total at 31.5. The Cardinals was 31.5. The Cubs was 31.5, and the Brewers was 30.5. And then the Pirates was like 25 or something. But I mean, even Vegas, they have no idea what's going to happen in this division. I think now it's changed to 32.5 for the Cubs, Cardinals, 31.5 still for the Reds, and maybe 30.5 still for the Brewers. Changed a little bit. But anyways, they're projecting this to be a tight race. I don't see why it's not going to be a tight race. And like I said, I think the Reds' strength of that starting rotation is really going to push them over the top of some of these other teams like the Cubs and the Cardinals. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I look forward to hearing feedback from you guys. I hope you guys have a good day and stay safe out there, and I look forward to hearing from you guys again soon. All right, take it easy. Bye.